Hey guys, so what I thought I'd do here today is just show you my latest cabinet that I picked up. It's an Atomiswave SD. It's made by Sammy, but I'm guessing it was manufactured by Taito because I'm not sure if you can tell, but it looks identical to the eGrip 2 and eGrip 3 cabinets that they brought out. It came out in 2003, and unsurprisingly it was introduced alongside the Atomiswave system that Sammy brought out. And yeah, what I thought I'd just do here today is just go over a few of the features, just talk a little bit about the cabinet itself, because there's not really a lot of videos out there that do so. So yeah, let's take a closer look. Okay, so as you can see, like I said before, it does share a lot of similarities with Taito's eGrip 2 and eGrip 3 cabinets. I guess probably the main difference is the monitor. The eGrip 3 is also does also have a similar monitor, but the eGrip 2 is just as you would expect. It's the normal JAMMA cabinet, so you can only play low resolution games on it, like 15 kHz games, whereas this one actually has a tri-sync monitor in it, and therefore you can play all the JAMMA games as well as Sega Model 2 games as well, which are 24 kHz, and also stuff like Sega Naomi, Atomiswave obviously, and Taito Type X games, etc., because it's also got 31 kHz capabilities for the high-res stuff. The monitor itself is actually a flat screen monitor. I'm not sure if you can tell, but yeah, it's got extra glass on it so that it sort of flattens it out rather than having the usual sort of bulbous shaped monitor that we're used to. But it's actually one of the nicest monitors I've actually come across. I can say that without any sort of prejudice, because frankly I didn't really expect the monitor to be all that good, because I've heard a lot of negative comments on the low resolution capabilities of this particular model, but I was actually really impressed with it. So we'll fire that up in a bit, and I'll show you some different games running on it and how they actually sort of work. But as for how I sort of came to acquire it, it was on eBay a little while ago, and I got it for pretty cheap because the guy said that it had an issue with the monitor where when you normally turn a monitor off and you'll sort of get it'll sort of zoom into a white dot in the middle, then disappear. With this particular monitor, I think it's the chassis that's probably got a problem, but it may be the tube as well. Obviously you've got red, green and blue guns inside the CRT itself, but on this particular one the red gun doesn't turn off when it should, and so you won't be able to see it because it's too small, but it sort of burnt like a small hole in the middle of the screen. Not a hole, but you can see the burn mark, and when you turn it off you can see it sort of burning the phosphors on the front of the tube, which is a shame. But it doesn't seem to be getting any worse. He seemed to think it was eventually going to eat up the entire screen, but I don't really see that's going to happen. I've turned it on and off several times, and it just looks as though it's still burning that same spot every time. So yeah, not too bad really. As far as, well, like I say, I'll get some games plugged into it in a little while, but I'll just give you a tour of the rest of the cabinet. It does have stereo sound, but it doesn't have an amplifier in it, because the Atomiswave board, I'm assuming, would have had a stereo amplifier built into it. You can get a Taito stereo amp which will just plug straight into this cabinet. I don't have one of those though, so I can't really comment on that, but the mono sound does a perfectly good job anyway. Not that, because this is going to be my, as you can see, my vertical cabinet. Not too many vertical games with stereo, so I'm not all that bothered. But moving down to the control panel, you can probably see that it's a one-player panel, and in fact I don't believe the Atomiswave's ever actually had an official two-player panel. There are reproductions out there that you can get, but this one did come with the standard one-player panel and memory card reader, because yeah, Atomiswave games had the ability to save your game on memory card. I think you could save various stats on memory card as well. Not entirely sure about any of that stuff, and I'm not really bothered, but all the cabling's there, so if I wanted to try it out then I can. I've actually got this unlocked at the moment, but if we look inside here, you can see that you've got usual test and service switches, and you've also now got a degauss button down there. That's the little red one down here. You've got your main volume here, you've got left volume, right volume, and the ability to switch mono stereo. Like I said before, it's got stereo capabilities but no amplifier, so you know, any sort of, I mean, like I said before, I'm guessing the Atomiswave had built-in stereo amplifier, but it's not really something I'm worried about too much. You've got your monitor adjustments here. You've got the usual adjustments like brightness, contrast, vertical size, vertical hold, you know, horizontal size, horizontal hold, shift, and all the rest of it. But one thing I did find strange is that you had a pin cushion control up the top here as well, because normally that's an adjustment that you find on the chassis itself, and it's not something that you'd need to change often, so you wouldn't generally have it on a breakout board like this. But I'll show you in a little while why that's actually on the control panel there. Other than that, I mean, obviously it's pretty similar to an egret 2. You've got your coin door here, and if we just open this up here, just lift this down, you can see inside here you've got your power supply here. I've actually got a PC in there at the moment running MAME and all the rest of it. Down here, this is your VGA cable, which runs directly to the monitor, and that's actually plugged into this little breakout PCB down here for the moment, because that means that then it's compatible with JAMMA. If you wanted to run something that was high res, then you unscrew this from here and just plug it into your board like you normally would. And down here you've got the JVS power connections here as well, via 3.3 volt, 5 volt and 12 volt. There's lots of other connectors sort of floating around. I'm not sure what most of them do, to be honest, so I don't really have to use them. But this connector here, it's actually quite buried in there, but that's the memory card at the top, which I don't really use again. But yeah, I mean, other than that, it's pretty much just a standard JAMMA cab. One thing though that you can't do is, I forgot to mention this before, although you've got your JVS video and your JVS power, you don't actually have a JVS controller PCB built into this cabinet. I'm guessing because of Atomiswave just used standard JAMMA for its controls, as you know most cabinets would. But yeah, that's one thing to keep in mind. You're going to need a JVS interface, something like from a Naomi cabinet, or maybe even one of those interface PCBs made by Capcom or Sega. But yeah, it's definitely something to keep in mind if you wanted to get one of these cabinets to run JVS games. But yeah, I guess all that's left to do now is I'll power it up, run a few games, and you can see what the quality of the monitor is like. Okay, so I've got Muchi Muchi Port running on the cabinet at the moment, but yeah, this is what the 15K picture looks like, and if I can sort of zoom in a little there, you can sort of see that the scan lines are intact. Definitely much more pronounced in real life. Can't really see it as well in the video, I guess because it's blurring, it can't really focus. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, for 15 kilohertz, the picture actually looks really, really nice. There are some sort of geometry issues, like, I'm not sure if you can really tell, no you can't really, but the right hand side sort of dropping off a little bit on top and bottom. That's trapezoid adjustment that needs to be made, but it's not too bad. I mean, considering most monitors will have some kind of issue or another, I'm not really that fussed. One thing that you'll normally find with these though is that you'll get side compression, so one side will be kind of scooched up a little bit, like the picture will look like it's kind of squished on one side, but again, I haven't really noticed that with this particular monitor. I'm really quite impressed with it, to be honest. But one other thing, I'm not sure if you can see that tiny little spot just there in the middle, but that's the burn-in from that issue that I mentioned earlier on. But again, really not that bothered about that. I think the picture is really nice. You can sort of see the scan lines. A lot of people don't like scan lines, but I think they really help to sort of break the picture up on low res games. and they're there, which I was kind of worried about. I thought it might have looked like a scale picture on an LCD or something, but no, it looks really nice. So yeah, that's Muchi Pork, so I guess we'll load up something else so you can have another comparison. Okay, so this is Donkey Kong, and some of my quite appalling scores there. But yeah, once again, the scan lines are intact. You know, there's no sort of really bad sort of pixelation. Again, it looks much better in real life, but this camera just can't focus properly. It's really a drag, but never mind. I think it looks awesome. Really, really pleased with it. So yeah, that's how Donkey Kong looks. Been getting quite into Donkey Kong lately, actually. So yeah, I think old D-Kong looks pretty good there. I think it does actually help when I sort of clean the lens on the camera. But yeah, really pleased with that. So that's how 15K looks. Don't really have any 24K games to show you at the moment, unfortunately, but what you can do is just jump straight into 31K and give you an idea what that looks like. Okay, so I've got Raiden 3 loaded up at the moment, and if you look at the bottom there, I'm not sure you can really tell on the video, it's kind of bowed at the sort of, well, it is bowed at the top as well, but it's off the screen so you can't really see it. But that's why you've got the pincushion control on the front, because obviously between switching low res to high res it can't really sort of work it out. So if I just grab the pincushion adjustment pot, you can see it sort of moving around. Woohoo! Yeah, that's about right, I think. I'll move the other pots around as well, because it is way too off the screen at the top there. So yeah, if you sort of zoom in on this one, you can just see that the picture's gorgeous. It's so nice. I mean, I've never really been much for high-res games, but it has to be said, Raiden 3 does look exceptionally good on this screen. Really pleased with it. Okay, so I've opened it up so you guys can take a closer look at the insides of it here. Control panel's nothing special. You've got your usual JST connector here for your joystick. Normal sort of micro switch buttons for this buttons there. But over here you've got the memory card reader. And again, here's the cable that sort of runs down into the cabinet itself. You've got various connections here. This one I'm going to assume is just for standard JAMMA, and then you've got some other connectors here which I think will interface to JVS or different connectors down the bottom there. You've got a couple more here. I think probably one of these is going to be for player 2 if you had a two-player two-player panel installed. But moving up, as you can see, there's no rotate mechanism in this one, unfortunately, and this monitor is really heavy, so this one is just my vertical cab, and that's the way it's going to stay. But around the back here you've got the chassis. There's various adjustments you can make on there, such as sub brightness, your B+, which you should never ever touch, your sub contrast, there's the trapezoid adjustment on there for the geometry as well. But up the back here, this is where your RGB drive and RGB cutoff pots are. The drive are the three green ones up the top there, and the cutoff are the three white ones down the bottom. But yeah, that's pretty much it really. There's not much to the cab at all. And up the top here, obviously you've got your stereo speakers, which you've just got the quick disconnects on if you need to. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, overall I'm really impressed with it. I definitely recommend picking one up if you don't mind not having the easy rotate mechanism, I guess. But yeah, the monitor I think is really nice. Even though obviously this one had a problem, I don't really think it's an issue. I'll probably just show you that quickly before we end the video though. Okay, so here's the issue with the monitor. Don't know if you can see the little spot in the middle there. If I turn it off, see, there's the red phosphor, or the red gun rather, burning phosphor. But again, it's not really an issue. It's not growing, it's not expanding, so I'm not too bothered about it. Could send it off for repair, but I don't really think it's all that necessary. But yeah, if you're thinking of getting a Atomiswave cabinet, definitely go for it, because I think they're an awesome cab. I got really lucky with this one with the price that I got paid for it. But you can find them, you know, probably around in the UK anyway, around the £500 to £600 mark, maybe less if you're lucky. In the US, I think they're going to be considerably cheaper because there's probably a lot more of them out there. But yeah, so that'll be pretty much it for this video, I think. But yeah, if you've got any questions, then be sure to comment, and obviously don't forget to rate and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.